Hello and welcome. Today we're in the upcoming Tier 9 German cruiser, the Siegfried. And she is still a work in progress, meaning that she is subject to change. And I do hope that she does change, because so far the ship seems rather lackluster. The firepower simply is not good enough to warrant playing the ship, in my opinion. You see, she is basically Gneisenau, except she's tier 9 and the cruiser. Now, there are quite a few differences, and I go over them at the end of the video while looking at the ship and port. But mainly, the main problem is that she's basically an up-tier Gneisenau, and in that case, the ship just doesn't work quite the same way as Gneisenau does. Now, she does have worse armor actually than Gneisenau, but she is much more accurate, so that offsets it a little bit, but not entirely. So, for example, she has 26-second reload and only 6 guns. Think about that one. You have quite a few battleships with 9 guns or 12 guns that have a similar type of reload. And those guns usually have higher calibers even. Now, of course, those are battleships, but let's be honest, the Siegfried kinda feels like a battleship quite often too. I'm certainly spec'd like a battleship, but you can't exactly do quite the same things as a battleship can, because she doesn't have a 32mm bow, it's 27. And as a result, she can't bounce very easily with the bow. Well, she can't actually bounce battleship shells, or most battleship shells at this tier. And that's actually one of the biggest differences I think she has with the Gneisenau. Gneisenau is tier 7, meaning that the standard armor on battleships on bow and stern is 25mm, and 380mm caliber guns, which the Gneisenau and the Siegfried have, can overmatch that armor. But at tier 9, you often get into tier 10 matches, or you fight ships like Des Moines or others with 27mm bow and stern. Siegfried can't overmatch that. So not only can you not overmatch battleships, you can't even overmatch many of the cruisers. And so Siegfried's firepower is lacking, but on top of that, her gun caliber doesn't give her, in my opinion, much of an advantage either. And so, yeah, she just has felt kind of disappointing for me. I mean, so far I've done 18k damage, and it's almost 5 minutes into the match. And 11k of this came from one fairly lucky salvo. Now, her accuracy does mean that she can often put her shells where she would like them to. But it also comes with the downside that if you're really accurate, but your volume of fire is low, then you can often simply miss, because you misaimed, or the enemy did something you didn't expect. You know, there are many reasons why somebody might miss. And in those cases, bad accuracy sometimes can save you by dropping your shells accidentally on top of the target. But if your accuracy is good, that's not gonna be happening all that much. But here you could see a perfect example of the firepower just not being there. I fired all 6 shells, I hit 3 of them, so half, from like 17-18 kilometers. I would say that's pretty good. But they only did 2,600 damage. Sure, I fired HE, but 2,600 damage? That's pitiful. That's really pitiful. So you kind of have to fire AP on the ship to deal damage, but since you can't overmatch, it doesn't always work. And so you're kind of in a bind. Have to decide whether you want to risk it with HE or not. In this match, I have so far fired HE, and I would say that often you'll play this ship kinda like other battle cruisers, in that you can tank, but you're not the primary tank. So you'll sit back early on, more or less, dealing damage and whatnot, and then step in once the match has evolved a little bit, and you can get a favorable fight. Here right now, oh, one thing that she does have is that because she's a cruiser, she still gets cruiser consumables. So she has a hydro, for example, and this is a 6-kilometer German hydro. So this is a very good hydro, and it has been quite useful. But sometimes you can deal damage, as you can see here. 5800 on a DD. Sure, I hit 5 of 6 shells, and you probably won't hit that all that often. But it's possible to deal quite a bit of damage. Especially since that was AP on a DD. Now, next up in this match, I guess we're just trying to play around this B cap and try to chase all the enemies off. Honestly, it kind of feels, the map kind of feels empty right now, because many of the enemies are clustered in the top right corner, and so they aren't really participating in the match. I've done only 30k damage. It's 7 minutes and 10 seconds into the game. I am not very happy about this. But such is life in as the Siegfried. I guess she isn't gonna slay all that many dragons. Actually, I take that back. She'd be excellent at slaying dragons. I mean, Eastern Dragon and Southern Dragon are tier 7, and they're cruisers. So, actually Siegfried would be really good against them. Yeah, I take that back. It's just that dragons in World of Warships just aren't all that powerful, it seems. Well, I'm gonna try to get to where I just pointed. Basically, I want to keep the enemy ships in the top right corner out and try to take control of the B cap. For that, we have to chase out this Udaloi and the Hindenburg, and I think we can fairly easily do it and probably defend against the Haruguma. Aw, this wasn't a great salvo. It was accurate, just not on target. Let's try better this time, after our arduous 23-second reload. Well, actually it's slightly less because I think I have Adrenaline Rush on this one. Hey, I actually hit. I don't think I did any damage, but I hit. And now it's time to enter the cap zone, although it is locked right now, which means that the Haruguma is very likely inside the cap zone here. But luckily I do have a Hydro, and that keeps me fairly safe. Oh, and we're finally capping, so Haruguma has left. Probably headed somewhere towards the northern side. Well, actually I guess that's the only place to go. And that's a smart decision, because, well, she obviously can't fight all the ships that are here. Once I take the cap, I'm gonna go through this gap right in front of me and just sail towards the enemy. I have 51k HP, and I think it might be time to drive the point home that they are going to lose. Because, I mean, it's 10 versus 8 right now, and that's not something you can easily come back from. Here's the dilemma situation, right? You kind of have to fire HE at this Richelieu, because if you fire AP, they're just gonna bounce off of the hull, and if you fire into the superstructure, you might as well basically have fired HE anyway, so there isn't much difference, I think, in these situations, or rather, you're just between a rock and a hard place. I'm gonna try AP here, but I don't hold much hope. Yeah, one even failed to penetrate, but I think that's because it hit the turret armor, which tends to be rather thick. I'm slowing down right now, or stopping really, because I want to buy some time. I really decide to go after Yoshino because this Richelieu is so angled, and she's being taken out by somebody else. Maybe I'll get a Citadel. That's a Citadel. A nice 17k damage. I went, yeah. I'm still only at 55k, but I'm a lot happier now because I actually did damage to a ship. And enough damage to make her think twice. And now we're gonna repeat that, right? And there it is, another 17k damage. I guess the next fight is gonna be with the Moskva after the Yoshino goes down. Should I torpedo here? Probably not. It seems that the Moskva is turning towards me, actually. Okay, in that case, I'm gonna save the torpedoes. Meanwhile, I will shell the Lion. Now, I just hope that the Moskva doesn't sink me, because I only have 18k HP, so it's entirely possible. If a Moskva gets great shot off, that could happen, but she didn't, so goodbye, have your torpedoes. And the next target is the... actually Chapayev, because if we can finish her off, she can't bother me anymore, and then we can take our time with the Lion. Oh, and her engine is broken, so this should be fairly easy. Unfortunately, the Moskva didn't know that the ship had torpedoes. I guess you live, you learn. I immediately use a Damacon. It was a slight mistake. I should have used it about 1 second later, so that the HE shells that were coming in would still be covered by the fire immunity. But it was fine. I think using Damacon on single fires is fine if you're not at risk of being set on fire again or flooded. But man, check that out. I'm at 100k damage now. Just recently I was only at 55k. And even before that I was even lower. So this is really good. And it's a 9 versus 3. I don't think they stand much of a chance. But of course, maybe the Hindenburg just detonates every single ship on our team, right? With one salvo. That's entirely possible, right? I have 9,000 HP, the Lion has 45,000 HP. The Lion is an actual battleship, I'm a fake battleship. Who would win? Well, with a little bit of friendship magic, I have whittled down the Lion to 3k HP. Oh, and there is the game. So, as you can see, the Siegfried is, in my opinion, fairly lackluster in terms of damage output, but tanking-wise, she's pretty good, and maneuverability, she's pretty good. So, I would say that she probably needs some kind of a buff to her firepower. I'm just not sure what it should be. If you have any good ideas, let me know in the comments. At least I got number 1 at 2100 base XP. That's quite a bit more than number 2 actually, so this is pretty good. Here you can see the damage done to the ships. 87k with AP, only 12k with HE. AP definitely had a much higher damage per shell, so preferred ammo on the ship should be AP, but that depends often on the situation, I suppose. And, I mean, these are like battleship stats, 1.5 million potential, 96k damage received. That's something you would expect in a BB. So, let's take a look at the Siegfried in port. She does look really good though. Like, she looks really, really good. But then again, I suppose that makes sense because even though she's a cruiser, she looks like a battleship more or less. And, she kinda is. She's basically the Gneisenau. Well, kind of. She sits slightly higher in the water and I think she's actually bigger, but I'm not quite sure. In terms of HP, she has... Actually, let's go over the commander skills first. I go with a fairly standard battleship build, with priority target, expert marksman, superintendent, concealment expert, fire prevention, basics of survivability, and then adrenaline rush. Because I think that the Siegfried is going to fulfill a battlecruiser role anyway, so I think this is pretty appropriate. So let's go over these stats. She has 380mm caliber guns, like I've said. They have a 26-second base reload. I have the... Oh, speaking of upgrades, I guess I should show those as well. I am using the main battery reload upgrade, concealment upgrade, rudder shift upgrade, aiming systems modification upgrade for better dispersion, then damage control systems for fewer fires, and main arms modification so that my main batteries get broken less often. So 380mm caliber guns. They have a 26-second base reload. With the upgrade it's 22.9. This is the same reload as the Gneisenau has. On the same caliber guns, the HE shell damage is the same, the AP shell damage is the same, I believe even the fire chance is the same. And the penetration, actually we can just check. Yeah, here you can see. The only thing that's different is that the Siegfried has 1.1 kilometer more range. Now there might be AP penetration differences, I'm not sure. Next up is the the torpedo protection on the ship is better than the Gneisenau. Torpedoes themselves, 8 kilometers. Gneisenau and other German battleships have 6, so this is a fairly useful thing. 4 torpedoes per side. There's a launcher on both sides, as you can see. Anti-air seems okay, but that's about all I can say about anti-air. The numbers just don't tell me much. Maximum speed is faster than a Gneisenau at 35.2 knots. Maneuverability wise, it's about the same. The rudder shift is pretty much the same. Concealment is 11.9 kilometers, but keep in mind that this is with the upgrade and the commander skill. Gneisenau base is 15.2, so fairly similar, if not the same. Okay, so let's take a look at the armor layout. So, Siegfried has 27mm of armor at the bow, 30mm deck in the middle, and 27mm stern. 90mm side, superstructures obviously 16, and 190mm armor belt. Let's take these sides off. Here you can see the Citadel. It clearly sits above the waterline, and it's not the greatest. We can look at the front. There is some turtle black armor here, as you can see, but I am not sure how effective it is. I haven't really been citadeled in this ship all that much, but I have taken some pretty big hits. But then again, this upper armor plate here is so massive that you could easily take, you know, some massive hits through this. Let's compare this to the Gneisenau, okay? Armor belt here is 45 instead of 90, bow is 25, but there's this very nice plate at the front that goes from all the way to the front to the main belt, which is 70mm, meaning that you can't citadel her from the front, you'll just bounce off of it. And then let's check out the armor, 350. And as you can see, the Citadel sits much lower in the water. So technically, armor-wise, I would definitely prefer the Gneisenau over the Siegfried. So yeah, I would say that the ship is fairly... the firepower is lacking. As you can see, it's only 4400 HE damage, and that's just... as a cruiser, that's not good enough for a 26-second reload. Well, okay, 23-second reload. But still, you're basically a battleship, but you only have 6 guns. I think she just doesn't bring enough to the table to offset the lackluster damage. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I would like to thank the patrons on Patreon. Thank you very much for your continued support, Perth Tato, and I hope I'll see you guys next time.